Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacqueline. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacqueline at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to USA Global TV. And hello to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio. I am Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, and our show today is The Wise Ones. I will be joined shortly by my co-host and friend, Mr. Red O'Laughlin. Our show today is a must-see. Are you a new business owner? Are you thinking of starting a business? I started 2 businesses during the pandemic, and I'm sure I've made a lot of mistakes. I'm going to find out some of them today. We've got an expert with us backstage. She is an attorney. She's an author. She's so much more. Help me welcome to the program, Colleen Migl. Hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. And I'm sure you didn't make too many mistakes.
Well, you know what's funny, Colleen, is that when you start off there, you go to Google, right? And you start searching around, and then, maybe you're on LegalZoom, maybe you contact an attorney. There's all these different paths to take. And I don't think that, at least in my case, you look at the strategic magnitude of the whole thing, that when the business takes off, are you set up to win? So I'm glad that you're here to share some of that with us, plus so much more. I'm going to spotlight you. And if you could give our audience a little bit of background about how and why you became an attorney and why in this area of helping entrepreneurs.
Yeah, so my parents actually had a business when I was growing up, and I got to watch them make a lot of mistakes. And everybody's human, right? But one of the things that we always needed in the family was an attorney. So I feel a little homegrown from that respect, in the sense that, every parent wants their kid to be an attorney or a doctor or some other profession like engineer. There wasn't really the expectation that I become any one type of profession. It's just something that the family always needed. And I just learned so much from their mistakes that it just seemed really a good fit for me to help other people stop making those mistakes too, or prevent them from making those mistakes. That kind of seems not like your traditional canned answer at all, but it's just it's something the family needed over the years. And I mean, they probably had spent tens of thousands of dollars on attorneys over the years. And so needless to say, they were very excited when I passed the bar, because they were like, we finally have an attorney in the family. We don't have to go pay these really large legal bills. And so not that they got themselves into too much trouble, but if you have a business and it's large enough, having an attorney nearby is just the cost of doing business.
Absolutely. And I have to share that you're so approachable. I mean, as an attorney, I would just love to work with you. I'd be like, yes, you know what? You are the kind of person, because you're humble and you're easy to talk to. And obviously with that family background, I'm sure that you must be very busy, because I can just relate to you right away.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I get that a lot, in the sense that I'm just really, I want my clients to be able to pick up the phone and call me. I do a lot of flat fee work. I don't have to, there are some clients, they just inevitably have to get a really large bill, but I know what it feels like on the back end to get a really large bill. So yeah, I mean, attorneys are humans too. And we love hearing from our clients, and really the only way we can help them better is if the line of communication is always open. So, that's less traditional. A lot of times the attorney-client relationship is more formalized, more by the hour, by the minute, right? And people, the side effect of that are it clients don't want to pick up the phone because they're scared of, if I spend 5 minutes on the phone with my attorney, I'm just going to get a bill, right? I'm just going to get a bill for that phone call. And it really chills the relationship. And that's one of the few things I don't like about being an attorney in the traditional framework, is that I don't get to have as many touch points with my clients because they're scared that I'm going to send them a bill. So, long story short, over the years, I ended up starting up my own firm, and my clients know, and they feel comfortable just picking up the phone or texting me or emailing me or messaging me on Facebook and saying, I got a problem, or what do you think about this, or making sure that they run it by me before they go head over heels and spend real dollars on a project.
Well, thank you for sharing all of that. I see Red is backstage. We're going to bring him out. One comment that I remember my attorney shared with me is, call me before it becomes a problem. Let's talk about it, instead of like going down that path on your own. And then, we've got to play house cleaning or cleaning.
Exactly. I'd rather help you out on the front end than clean up a mess. I'll tell you all day, every day. I mean, sure, I make more money cleaning up messes, but I prefer not to see my clients get into a pickle at all.
Yes. And
like happy clients, and like seeing their passion projects take off.
Fantastic. Let's welcome Red to the show. Red, how are you? Good to see you.
Oh, just in the middle of all sorts of problems. I bought a brand new computer for Christmas. I've been trying to use it, but it has Windows 11, and it's just creating all sorts of problems for me. Regardless, I finally got the thing where it's going to use it. So about a show ago, I was already using it. I couldn't get the video. I couldn't get the background. I couldn't get it. It was just locked up. Okay, fine.
Well, you're here now, so it's okay.
Yeah.
And Colleen and I started the show off, which has been going well. So, Colleen, a question I have for you is, when you're starting up a new business, what are some of the first steps you should take from a legal perspective before you go down some path where a huge bill is going to be coming your way?
So first of all, figure out who owns the business, right? Is it just you? Do you have a business partner? How much money are you going to be dumping into this company? How much really money are you wanting to spend on this project? I mean, we all kind of start projects and then they go off the rails, and suddenly we thought we were spending, let's say, $50, and next thing you know, all the parts and pieces, and we're like $200 into a project, and you're like, oh my gosh, what have I done? I could have just gone out and done XYZ instead, right? So you want to make sure you got a handle on who's going to be an owner of this business. A lot of new business owners make the mistake if they turn to their best friend or somebody that they know, or somebody they found on Craigslist, and they say, oh, I'll offer you a piece of the business, or you can be my business partner, right? No, don't do that. Not unless you're really sure that you want to be business partners with them, and that they really want to be business partners with you. Secondly, you really want to make sure that you're forming your business in a formal way. So I get a lot of calls where someone says, hey, I filed a DBA, or doing business as, otherwise known as an assumed name. There's different names for this across the country, but essentially you're not forming an entity. You're filing something with your local, county or parish, and saying, I'm going to go be, Colleen's Bakery, right? But you haven't formed an entity. You're just having another identity in which you can operate. That does not provide any kind of legal protection, period, right? I mean, the benefits of forming an entity is that you get legal liability protection from, let's say a breach of contract or some kind of judgment that may be entered in against the company, right? So you don't want all of your personal assets to be exposed. Now, if you really don't have any assets to talk about in the first place, you're probably what we call judgment proof anyway, but you really don't want that on your personal name. I mean, you'd want that just to sit on the entity should something go wrong. So that's kind of the first couple of steps that you want to take, is just, I don't want to say I'm not a fan of LegalZoom. Everybody's got a place in this world. So LegalZoom has its pros and cons, but you want to make sure that, wherever you go, whether it's an attorney or LegalZoom or some other, entity that forms businesses, you want to make sure, especially if you have a business partner, that you're getting it documented as to, who owns what, right? And who's contributing what. So if I'm going to own 50% and Sally's going to own 50%, we have to document that. And a lot of people make the mistake of, okay, well, even if they went and formed the company, they then still failed to document their ownership percentages. And that just is ripe for a dispute. Within about a 12 to 18 month period, I find that people who aren't very good business partners, things fall apart relatively quickly. Just like as if you were dating somebody on Match.com, how long does it take for you to figure out that you don't want to marry them? It's about 12 to 18 months, maybe. So it's interesting to see how the relationship of a business partner and the relationship, in general in real life for more romance purposes kind of has that same timeline. But those are some initial steps that people want to consider when they're setting up a business. What are they doing? Who's owning it? And documenting it. Document. I'm probably going to sound like a broken wheel here after a while, because I'm like, everything needs to be documented. It doesn't necessarily have to be a formal document. I mean, even if you have an email and you can print out that email and show that there was an agreement, that is still better than nothing. I mean, it's not, formal, but it's still better than nothing.
So the old handshake and the verbal agreement, is that by the wayside?
Yeah, you don't want to do that. I mean, I'm here in Texas. I'm barred in Texas and Washington, D.C., and we love our handshake deals here in Texas, but that's just not a very wise idea, even for the people who are family members or our friends.
Thank you so much. Red? We can't hear you. No. All right. Well, while Red is figuring that out, Colleen, I want to just continue along that conversation that we were just having. So about the DBA, that's really interesting. I wasn't aware of that. What if, to your point, you just mentioned, people get involved with projects and they go by the wayside, or they lose interest in it, they set up an entity. Do they need to keep the entity open for a certain amount of time, or do you shut it down right away? Or, do you say to yourself, well, you know what, maybe I'll pick this, Jacqueline's knitting company back up in 10 years from now. I'll keep the company open. I'll just keep paying for it. What are your thoughts on that?
So if the company didn't operate at all and it really never got off the ground, period, you never entered into any contracts, you never sold any widgets, right? I could really care less whether you kept it open or you closed it with your local, taxing authority or your Secretary of State, because there really wasn't any activity in it. Now, when there is a lot of operating activity and then suddenly you've stopped operating, there are some protections in the statute where if you leave it open for a couple of years after the fact, after you've stopped operating, you may get some legal benefits from doing that. And in fact, a lot of even large companies end up having what we call shell companies, where they let them hang out and they're not really causing any harm. And they just go ahead and renew them and maybe have a different purpose for them at a later date, because you can always change the name of an entity. And if you're a very serial entrepreneur type, I would go ahead and say, why not? Especially if you didn't really use it, go ahead and that way you don't have to go and reform another entity. So there are pros and cons. For the most part, I leave it up to the client as to whether they want to just kind of leave it hanging there. I've had some clients who say, hey, I just really don't want to bother with it. It's a nuisance. They don't want to have to pay their CPA additional money. They don't want to have to pay to upkeep it. They just don't want to deal with it. And I can easily respect that. But for people who have lots of different businesses, they're used to all of that compliance activity, getting the CPA and the bookkeeper and closing their books and filing those tax returns. And so it's just one more piece of paper in the stack for those types of folks. And so they tend to leave those entities open.
Great question. And a follow-up. And this was something new that I learned, which is there are all these fees that you have to pay to the various states where you have it registered or where you're operating, and then also something called an annual report. Can you, I don't know if this is across all the country, but can you speak to that as well?
It does exist in most states. So I'll just use Texas as an example. In Texas, we have an annual franchise tax report. There's one that looks at your revenue, and then there's one that's looking at your ownership. And you filing those again, usually by May 15th of every year with the Texas Comptroller. On the Secretary of State side, a registered agent needs to be on file. So let me kind of explain what a registered agent is. A registered agent is it shouldn't be you, by the way. There are services, or your attorney can serve as a registered agent. A registered agent is when someone goes to serve you. Let's say they're having trouble serving the entity or finding you, they can only serve the registered agent. And when I say serve, I mean, if they go file a petition or a lawsuit, right, then they got to serve that on someone, and someone needs to receive it. The registered agent is going to be deemed as receiving that lawsuit for the purposes of service. I mean, that's a lot of words of serve and service. I'll readily admit that, but there has to be someone of record that's going to be available to receive the petition. So there are annual costs, and Delaware is probably the most expensive out of all of them. The East Coast or California are also a bit more onerous. I just lumped the East Coast and all together, but we do find that the East Coast has steeper filing fees and more annual reports, and they want to know a bit more about your business and what's happening compared to some of the more southern states or the Midwest. But you should expect at least one annual filing. If you're in the more nonprofit space, you may be able to be eligible for exemptions from filing annually. So that's just something I'm just going to note. I mean, most of this program is for real businesses or real business owners and not necessarily nonprofits. But I do come across quite a few nonprofits, and something that they love hearing is that we can file, some forms at the state level, and they can make less filings or no filings at all.
I love that. Thank you so much. And I see Red is back with us.
Can you hear me this time?
Yes, we can hear you.
I don't know what's going on with the electronic world in my house today, but it is something else. Anyway, I am so glad to see you here, Colleen. I apologize for not being here, both to you, Dr. Jacqueline, and to you, Colleen. It's overcome by events today, and it's just interesting anyway. But one thing I noticed that I wanted to bring out is that Colleen has quite a history with pro bono work. How did that get started?
You know how we started the show, and I mentioned that, my parents had a business, and they've been very influential in my life. And so, not that my parents would go and drag me to a soup kitchen when I was growing up. That's actually quite the opposite. I think I've very rarely seen my parents go out and volunteer. But they did instill in me a deep sense of giving back to the community. And that is something that I've carried with me. And so it probably started out when I was in college. There were just a lot of opportunities to go out and volunteer and become a member of the community, or just start becoming a member of the community, whether it was Habitat for Humanity, which I quickly realized I've got some great muscles over here. That's not really the greatest fit for me. But as I evolved professionally and as a person, I realized that my legal abilities are in of themselves very valuable to the community. So whether I'm, helping someone do a routine task, like at a museum, right? I am a docent at our local Museum of Natural Science here in Houston. But, giving back in the legal way, that a lot of people don't even have wills. So I do run a local Wills for Heroes program for firefighters and first responders. And we give away about 30 wills, or 30 families wills a year. The pandemic has obviously slowed that activity down. To do a will here in Texas, we need 2 witnesses plus a notary. Plus, we have the attorney who drafts the estate planning package. And so it has been very problematic when we don't want to bring so many people into a room together. So there has been markedly less will packages going out into the community, but that's something that I've been doing, probably since about a year or 2 after I graduated law school and passed the bar. I had gotten pulled into that, and I have found that, just because it's just so hard for people to have access to legal services, that's just more meaningful now than ever.
Thank you so much. So,
check your mute button or something.
Okay. I do not know what's going on with this program today and me, but anyway.
Just keep going, Red.
Okay. I know you've been recognized very well for your pro bono work. I don't know you from that part, but I do know you from our local exchange club in Sugar Land, that you've been very active. That's how I met you. That's how we became friends. And then over time, you just sponsored, well, actually, I guess you set up and ran a Christmas lights deal for us here, where we went to the zoo, and there's 400 million lights at the zoo they do every year for Christmas. It's amazing. You can walk for hours and not run out of lights and places to go. But that was something that I really and truly enjoyed. She got us a bus to take us down there, so we didn't have to worry about parking. We didn't have to worry about drinking and driving home. You can't ask for better service from somebody who's just taking this on and doing it because she loves it.
Yeah, so I am the social chair for the Exchange Club here in Sugar Land, and they had approached me and they said, "Oh, you're just so good at throwing together social events," and I was like, "Really?" Okay, and I took it on. I even organized a cruise, but that ended up getting canceled. I think the newest variant had scared everybody, so that's going to get rescheduled hopefully in the next couple months. But they'd even approached me to organize a cruise, and I was like, "Are you really sure about that?" Because they I just had a baby. I don't know that. I think Red knew that, but I don't think Dr. Jacqueline knew that. And so they decided that they wanted to take this cruise, but the cruise date was on my due date. And I was like, well, I can organize it, but I'm not going on the cruise. The zoo event was a lot of fun, and I find that many zoos across the country have zoo lights. So I'd never been to the Houston zoo lights, but I'd been to other zoo lights across the country just because I like zoos, and everybody loved it. So it was a big hit.
Yeah, it was about 70, 74 degrees that night, and they actually had snow on some parts of it, where it's blowing out as you walk through this little tunnel. You walk through snowflakes coming down. I thought that was very neat.
Red, I think those were bubbles.
No, there was bubbles also, but they actually had snow too. It wasn't going the whole time, because when I came back, I knew exactly where it was, and the snow machine wasn't on. But the bubble machine was further down. But yes, they had bubbles.
Okay, both. Dr. Chocolate's like, well, I want to go to the zoo now.
I love zoos, actually. I have a question for you related to what you were talking about before. You had mentioned in terms of filing a business in the state of Delaware is more expensive in some cases, and I'm also aware of this. What are some of the advantages people get by forming their business in the state of Delaware?
Yeah, so I got this question a lot. In fact, I actually got this question this morning from a client. And so then, compared to Texas, Delaware has a very evolved business organization statutes. In Texas, the legislature thought it would be really great to leave really large gaps in our Texas Business Organizations Code to make our state more business friendly. I think they had good intentions, but there's not really as many backup language as to when something goes wrong. Like removing a member from an LLC is something that people need to. Sorry, I just dropped my phone. That people need to do. So the main benefit of Delaware, it's definitely not money, because you should expect to file, a lot more money annually and the initial filing, right? But the statutes that they have are much more evolved. So you have, from the legal side, I have a lot more instruction The case law is also much more developed. So if I have a client who I know is going to, and this is a business show, right? If I know that they're entering into the space and they're going to have an exit within about 5 to 7 years, you should always have an exit plan, whether it's retirement or sale of the business, or you're going to sell to private equity, are you going to sell to your neighbor? Like, I don't, it doesn't really matter to me as the attorney. I just need to be able to paper it. But from a strategic standpoint, if you know that you're going to be selling to quite a larger party, like a private equity firm, if you're going to have to go through the whole investment banker process, you do want to form in Delaware. Those larger parties are looking to acquire Delaware entities. And even if you didn't have one that was in Delaware, they're going to end up converting it long term. There's something called roll-ups that we do in the M&A space, so the mergers and acquisition space, and that allows us to, go and acquire a lot of different entities or businesses in a particular industry or space, and then eventually we'll need to roll them all up into one entity.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Colleen, how is branding involved nowadays? We see branding in social media all over the place. Is branding in the legal jargon one of those things that we really should be aware of too?
Yes. So I get a lot of clients asking me this as well, is they want to go and seek some kind of protection about their brand. They want to see if they can protect their logo or the name of their company, or maybe materials that they've created. So the best thing to do is, of course, see your attorney early and often on the transactional side, right? Is because we can help you more on the front end as opposed to the back end. And so on the front end, what we would do is we would make some filings with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The USPTO makes a lot of money on their filing fees as well. And those are even more steep than Delaware formation fees. There's a theme here that, operating a business costs money, right? Protection costs money. So the USPTO is the way to go. It is first in time, right? You want to show that you're using the mark in commerce. Well, unfortunately, I do frequently get the phone call after the fact where someone has already tried ripping off someone's name, or they've come across somebody who is confusingly similar, and they realize that they don't have any protections on file with the USPTO. And so I then have to quickly see if they have filed, the other party has filed, and quickly see if we can file ahead of anybody else, because I've gotten clients with catchy names and I've gotten clients with not so catchy names. And if you don't have a catchy name, you may decide that you want to wait on filing because there's just less of a risk of someone ripping you off, right? But I've certainly had some clients who had just a super catchy name, and it didn't take very long for somebody else to pop up with a very similar or identical name as their business, doing the exact same thing as them.
Another area go ahead, Dr.
Yeah, I have a follow-up on that, because that actually happened to me. I'm not going to go into the specifics, but I had filed for a trademark for a certain name, and I was using this name, and I got a letter from an attorney saying that I needed to cease and desist or whatever. They were going to sue me because their name was close to my name. They were not the same, and they were doing something totally different with what they were doing. So rather than get all involved paying fees and doing this and that, I just decided I said, how about it? It's yours. So I don't know. I guess in that case, I could have gone down the path of trying to stick my stake in the ground and go, no, I'm going to keep this. You're doing your thing and I'll do mine.
So just to add on to that, is when you do file for a trademark, there are different classes that you file under. So they're like, I don't know why they call them classes. I like to call them categories because it's just easier for people to understand that they're categories. That you could file something in one class, but somebody else can file the identical name in another class category and still use it. So what you had mentioned, and you were saying that they're doing something completely different, is maybe you could have fought that saying, well, I'm in a different class than you, or we're doing completely different things. So I would recommend if you still wanted to salvage that based on what you told me, maybe you should consult with a intellectual property attorney. You really would want somebody that specializes in it, maybe someone who's board certified. That way you could fight them on that point.
Thank you. Good direction. I appreciate it.
Colleen, one of the things you just mentioned, intellectual property. Ironically, within the last week, I got a letter via email from a lawyer saying that one of the posts that I used had a photograph that was somebody else's intellectual property. And he said, cease and desist or give that person credit. So I said, okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'll give you credit right now. But I said, I do not use, I use royalty-free everything. I do not use anything. So anyway, I just went ahead and fixed it within 5 minutes, sent him back an email saying, okay, you're credited. So the next day I got around to looking it up, and sure enough, on Pixabay, royalty-free images, the same picture was there. So here it's being offered, and I said, well, I want to just head and change it anyway. I went back to the lawyer. I said, I'm changing it anyway, just so there's no confusion. And I said, if you have a problem with intellectual property, you need to deal with Pixabay because it says duty-free image dot something or other on the photograph itself. So intellectual property comes in many different ways. How should we as entrepreneurs really be concerned about that?
Yes, you want to be careful because you don't want to get the cease and desist in the mail. I mean, that's definitely the, not to say that's the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is getting sued after you get the cease and desist letter, but you'd prefer not to get those letters in the first place, right? And I know Red is very careful and he tries to go and seek out royalty-free, licensing-free images, or if you do get a license, paying for that license and making sure that the scope of that license is what you're looking for, or what you intend to use it for. Certainly even on, I think Adobe Pro allows for you to have 10 free images a month. They're not really free, you're paying for them, but you can also, when you're in there, it'll tell you the scope of that license and how many people you can distribute that image to. And so I would encourage everyone to read the fine print. I know Red is one of the people who always reads fine print, so I wasn't really worried about you there, Red. I'm not surprised you went back to that site and it said what you wanted it to say, and I'm sure you took a screenshot of that and sent it right back to that attorney. But for someone who's listening to this, is if it doesn't have the fine print, ask the questions. Make sure that you're being diligent and that you're doing all the due diligence that you need to be doing. And as I'm saying this, right, is look for language that says that you don't have to pay a royalty, or that if you're supposed to be giving someone credit, that you're doing that. Because so many people are just so ready to click add to cart and click next, check out, right? And they never really even looked at the scope of their license. So especially if you're pulling images off from the internet, whether it's Shutterfly, Shutterstock, Adobe Pro, Pixabay, right? Make sure that when you are pulling them, you go ahead and take a screenshot of what the fine print is, or print it out and put it in a binder, or email the person who's listing that image and see if you can get something in writing from them. Especially if there's nothing listed.
Excellent advice.
Excellent. Yes. Fantastic. Question I have, this came up early on for me, is playing music through broadcasting platforms. And so had an attorney research it, contacted the main, I forget the name of the music entities, letters.
Is it ASCAP? I think ASCAP
yes,
is one of the larger ones. Yeah.
And basically, if the music's being played through a social media platform, they have the license. Anything you want to add to that, or say that's not true?
Yeah, it's important to look at the fine print on that as well, right? I mean, they'll treat someone who's like a restaurant, they're looking at how many people are you broadcasting that music to or the video to, right? So I'm not an expert in ASCAP. I know enough to be dangerous and know that you need to, get those licenses. But the problem with a lot of that is, ASCAP has kind of the whole industry in a very captive position. And sometimes they're very expensive. A lot of people try to skirt it either because they don't know about what the music industry has kind of set up for themselves, or they say, well, I don't have $30,000 to pay for, the specific type of scope of license that they need to obtain from ASCAP. So it is a buyer beware. I would recommend someone not using someone else's music in the background without at least trying to do some initial research. I mean, the nice thing about ASCAP is once you do have an ASCAP type of license or a scope of license, you can feel comfortable perusing that ASCAP catalog, right? It does give a sense of comfort that you're not going to be crossing a line by accident. But, if you're just Joe Schmo and you don't really have like a large stadium, not like a soccer stadium or a football stadium or, a movie theater, and you're just a nobody and you're like, well, I just need this one song, right? And that does cause a lot of problems.
Yes. And to what I understand, I'm not sure if this is correct or not, but right now, if I were to go to my phone and I were to click on a playlist and play the music through the phone right now as we're live broadcasting, that would be a problem.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. Now, something else interesting, several times since I started, I would get notifications from Facebook that someone in another country was contesting the music that was being played and that they had some kind of ownership. And this one entity did this over and over again. And I appealed it every time and I won because I know exactly where the music's coming from and who the artists are because they've been on here and given us permission. So there are people out there who are trying to, I think, manipulate the system as well to put people into a state of panic and cause an issue where there shouldn't be one.
Yeah, I think they also have programs that are kind of going through videos like on YouTube, and I'm not sure that there's really a human listening. And so it just might just have been close enough that, the program flagged it.
Interesting. It's those old robots.
It might be a robot just trolling you over and over.
One thing
Dr. Jacqueline, no.
One thing people may not realize, you can get the royalty-free images, the photographs, but you can also get royalty-free songs. There's a lot of stuff out there that people don't realize, or maybe they don't realize, that it sounds good. It may work out very well for the article you're doing or the presentation you're doing or background music. I've looked at a lot of them trying to figure out, do I want an intro or an outro or something and what makes sense? So there's a lot of stuff out there that is free. And again, as Colleen said, check the fine print, check the fine print, check the fine print. And speaking of fine,
you're doing a lot of projects, like, Dr. Jacqueline or you Red are doing, you all are incentivized to make sure that you're getting royalty free or if you just need to go get a license. I mean, sometimes licenses are very cheap, right? Like an Adobe Pro, you select the level of license that you need and you pay accordingly and it becomes a non-issue, right? So it doesn't have to be free, but you want to make sure if you are paying for something, you're getting the scope of license that you're looking to get, right? So if you're going to broadcast to thousands of people or are you broadcasting to, less than 5 people, it does matter.
I know I pay for licenses for everything. Every month I go, oh, this subscription, that subscription, but it keeps you safe. So I think that's important.
Dr. Jacqueline, speaking of the fine print, are we due for a commercial anytime soon?
No, we're not going to commercial because we have to wrap up the show shortly, but thank you for asking.
Then let me ask one last question, or maybe near the last question. One of the things that I have an involvement with Colleen is that she's a published author, just like Dr. Jacqueline. I had a chance to work with her to get her book published. She has a cookbook, a lawyer with a cookbook on pumpkins. And not only that, from a legal perspective, she's covered herself by getting websites. I can't tell you how many websites that she has that's covering pumpkins. So please, Colleen, would you talk a little bit about pumpkins for us today to kind of end out the show?
Yeah, so growing up, I just had like a pumpkin head, I had a big head, right? And so, my parents called me Pumpkin. That's a very common nickname for someone. And I also really love pumpkin pie. I just love it, right? I can even tell if someone is using like I can tell if someone's using cans to make their pies. So I'm a big fan of pies, but long story short, I really like pumpkins. And so I started when the internet first started like coming out, and I guess when Google was becoming a thing. This is many years ago, is I started buying up pumpkin website domains, and it just, I probably would buy like one or two a year, and then it's now been a good 15 to 20 years of this. And so I have amassed quite a few domains in the pumpkin space. And along with that is I don't know, we were all kind of bored in the pandemic, and you know what, I was just like, you know what I really want to do, I just want to make a book about pumpkins. And so my sister-in-law is big into cooking, and it was something for us to do together, and it became a little bit of a passion project. And so I didn't really do this to go make a ton of money. I just wanted to that's, everybody's got their little weird passions. And so that's one of mine. It's a little embarrassing because I don't tell anybody. Red knows about my pumpkins because he helped me finalize the pumpkin book. But if you want, it is on Amazon and you can find it.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, go to Colleen Migl on Amazon and put in pumpkin, and you will find her book. And trust me, it's a very good one. So if you like pumpkins, you'll probably find something in there you really never thought about making pumpkins with it, because she really covers the whole range of how pumpkins can be used.
I absolutely have a sweet tooth, so most of them I feel like are desserts. We had fun making all of those too. So it was just a ton of fun.
And we use royalty-free images or legitimate images that people took. So we covered all our bases on that one.
Smart, Red. Colleen, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here. I'm going to spotlight you. And for people who are interested in working with you, how should they get in touch with you? And who would be the type of client that you would work with? Entrepreneurs, people who are just getting started?
Yeah, so anyone, really, we're not a consumer law firm. We're really business to business. So a business is my ideal client. Someone, whether they're starting up, whether they are starting to scale their business, or whether they're looking to exit their business or start planning that exit, right? The easiest way to get a hold of me is actually via email. It's cmigl@qmclaw.com. And my office number is 713-300-9662. We're located in Houston. We also have a Dallas office, and we're hoping to open an Austin office by the end of this year. Fingers crossed that is successful.
Thank you, Colleen. I've learned so much from you, and probably have another 50 questions. So I hope you'll come back.
Absolutely. I would love to come back. I'm sure we didn't even touch on, what you need to do to really position your business to sell. So I've got plenty more where that comes from.
All right. Well, definitely come back again. We'd love to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so very much, Colleen. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Oh, Red, she's delightful. So down to earth, and yet so intelligent and knowledgeable.
Yeah, she is an absolute delight. There's no doubt about it. What you saw on the screen is her in real life. There was nothing different.
I love her laugh too. Red, I'm going to spotlight you and ask if you would please share for our audience how people can reach you and who you would like to contact you for which services.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Jacqueline. It's really appreciated. I do a couple of things. Number one is I speak primarily on health and wellness. I research what goes on in the human body at the cellular level. I look for cause and effect relationships. Treat a cause, fix a problem. Treat a symptom, you'll always treat symptoms. So I speak on that quite a bit. I spoke yesterday at a Chamber of Commerce event. I speak regularly on that. So if there's something, especially with Zoom and StreamYard and a variety of other, we can do this virtually. So if there's something that might appeal to an organization or to a group of people, more than happy to try to address that. I speak at local Alzheimer's group here and a couple others. Anyway, that's one area that I can help you in. Another area is just like me, Dr. Jacqueline, you didn't mention it this time, but I helped Dr. Jacqueline with her book, publishing it. I helped Colleen Migl with her book, publishing it. I publish books. And if you have questions about writing a book, publishing a book, more than happy to answer those questions. And if I can help you, I will. Easiest way to reach me is by my website at redolaughlin.com or by email. But let me go ahead and spell it out real quickly because there may be some people listening to this on a podcast. So it's Red, just like the color, R-E-D, last name O'Laughlin, O-L-A-U-G-H-L-I-N. Red O'Laughlin, RedOlaughlin.com. My email address is red@redolaughlin.com or red.olaughlin@gmail.com. Either one gets to me. So if you have any questions at all in the area of providing a professional speaker to your organization or talking about getting your book published or written, more than happy to help you in that.
Thank you so much, Red. And I did mention about the book, but I didn't mention anything about this new book coming out that you and I are working together on. So this book is called Adversity to Awesome. It will be out April the 4th and is a compilation of actual interviews that I've held with people who have been through incredible adversity and are now out in the world creating wonderful things, helping other people. And I also was privileged that Red has interviewed me for the forward for the book. And we're not going to give anything away about that. But Red, anything you want to add to let our audience know about this book?
A lot of people have things happen to them, and it's like stress. It happens to all of us. It's not the stress that causes the problem. It's when we hold on to it and we don't let it go. That's when problems happen. That's when 80% of literally almost every disease that you go in to see a doctor about starts with stress, where you should be getting rid of it on a daily basis, several times a day. Easiest way, smile, laugh. A lot of ways to get rid of it, but in the process, some people will not let go. They hold on to it. They cannot let go for whatever reason. And this book is about those people who let go and discovered not just a normal life, but a fantastic life. But they learned the lessons from early on and they took advantage of it. That's what this book is about.
Thank you so much, Red. Well said. All right, so we are going to sign off for now. I'm actually going to teach a 3-hour Power of Listening course. So thank you so much to everybody who has been watching our shows. Thank you for those of you who are subscribing on our YouTube channel. You can watch all of our shows many ways, but the 2 ways that I suggest, go over to our YouTube channel, which is USA Global TV. Subscribe, and you can watch. We have 21 shows this week. And after the fact, you can go to our website, which is usaglobaltv.com, and you can watch the shows there. All right. Thank you so much, Red, for being here. Thank you to all of you. We look forward to seeing you again. We'll be back tomorrow with more shows. Have a great day, great evening. Bye, everyone.
Bye now.